I was 16 when the Russians invaded and I had to defend my home. In a small town in eastern Ukraine, in the winter of 2022, Viktor Petrov, a 16-year-old teenager passionate about video games, lives with his grandmother Babusia Elena, 74, who raised him after his parents' death. When Russian forces advance on their region, most neighbors flee, but Elena refuses to abandon the house where she was born, and Viktor cannot leave her alone. With the help of Dmitry, a wounded Ukrainian soldier who takes shelter in their house, and Anya, a 14-year-old orphan girl found in the rubble of a bomb school, Viktor must mature brutally. Between bombings, food shortages, and constant Russian inspections, he will discover that defending a house means preserving everything that makes a place truly a home, even when the world around collapses. The sound of planes still makes me break out in cold sweats. 2 years after setting foot on Brazilian soil, sometimes I close my eyes and still smell the mold mixed with smoke, still hear Babusia Elena's labored breathing trying not to make noise so as not to give us away. People here ask me what the war was like. They don't understand that war isn't something you live through, it's something you become. And I became war when I was only 16 years old and Russian tanks appeared on our street. My grandmother used to say our house had its own soul. Red bricks that she and my grandfather laid one by one in the 70s, a kitchen that always smelled of borscht, a basement full of preserves. On the walls, yellowed photographs, my parents when they were young, me when I still believed the world made sense. That February morning, I wanted to grab my backpack and run like the neighbors were doing. But Babusia Elena planted herself in the kitchen, arms crossed. I'm not leaving here, Viktor. If they want this house, they'll have to go through me first. I tried to argue, but she looked at me with those faded blue eyes that seemed to hold all of life's storms. You can go, my boy. But I'm staying.
There's no choice when you truly love someone.
There's only the certainty that you can't abandon those you love, even if staying means dying together. So I stayed. The first week was almost normal, if you ignored helicopters flying overhead and half the houses empty. Babusia Elena kept cooking as if nothing had changed. I tried to maintain my routine, studies, exercise, games when the internet worked. But I noticed the signs. How she checked the locks 3-4 times before sleeping. How her eyes moved to the window every time she heard a car. My hearing became sharper, I could identify aircraft by sound, differentiate gunshots from fireworks, memorized patrol schedules. I started sleeping dressed, with shoes beside the bed. It was in the second week that we found Dmitry. I had gone out to fetch water from the community well when I saw him, military boots appearing behind the tank, motionless. A soldier could mean many things. I approached slowly and saw the yellow and blue flag on his shoulder. Dmitry was unconscious, with a bloody bandage on his leg. He had the face of someone who hadn't slept in days, a scar on his eyebrow, large, calloused hands trembling in the cold. "Hey," I whispered, touching his shoulder.
Are you okay?
He opened his eyes and his hand went straight to where a weapon should be. Green eyes that seemed to see through things. "Ukrainian?" I asked. He nodded. Taking him home was one of the hardest things I've ever done. With each step, he gritted his teeth to keep from groaning. We stopped 3 times, hiding behind abandoned cars. Babusia Elena didn't hesitate when she saw us arriving. She simply prepared the kitchen table, spread a clean towel, and started boiling water.
Take off your pants.
"Viktor, go get the first aid kit." It was the first time I saw a war wound up close. It wasn't like in movies, it was ugly, irregular, smelled of iron and infection. Dmitry didn't scream while she cleaned it with vodka. He just closed his eyes and gripped the table until his knuckles turned white. He stayed with us. He brought information from the outside world, knew how war really worked. He taught us to recognize artillery, improvise barricades, have bags ready. He transformed our naive house into something that tried to be a fortress. But Dmitry also laughed at my bad jokes, helped Babusia Elena with heavy pots, made tea when she had nightmares. He was a 28-year-old man who had left a girlfriend in Kiev. One March afternoon, we found Anya. The bombing had been at dawn. The school where she studied no longer existed, just smoking rubble and a hole in the ground. The smell was indescribable.
Heard the low, constant crying coming from the debris.
We found an opening between concrete beams. Anya was huddled inside, hugging a pink backpack, covered in dust.
Anya, let's get you out of there, Dmitry said gently.
It took an hour to convince her. She had spent 20 hours alone, listening to the debris settle. In the backpack, photo of her parents, faded teddy bear, melted chocolate, notebook full of drawings of happy families. Babusia Elena received her like a granddaughter. Warm bath, clean clothes, soup that smelled of care. Anya didn't talk much, but observed everything, always with an escape route in mind. She was too smart for 14 years old. She knew when to turn on lights, when to speak quietly, how to stretch food. At night, she cried hugging her teddy bear. In the morning, she helped with breakfast, always smiling. Our routine reorganized. Dmitri took care of security, Babusia Elena the house, Anya helped with everything. And I became a bridge between everyone, the guardian of hope. The first time I really had to defend our house was on an April afternoon. I was in the yard fixing the antenna when I heard Russian voices on the street. 3 soldiers checking house by house. I ran to warn Dmitri to the basement, Anya too. "I'll stay," said Babusia Elena. "Old ladies aren't threats." The basement had a disguised entrance behind the preserves. They disappeared in seconds. I opened the door trying to look sleepy. The tallest soldier, unshaven, tired eyes. "We're doing a security check." "Who lives here?" "Me and my grandmother." "Your parents?" "They died when I was little."
Car accident.
They entered, inspected everything. Babusia Elena offered tea in porcelain cups, talked about weather and recipes. But I saw tension in her shoulders. One of them asked about the basement. My heart stopped, but she explained that we stored preserves. She went down with them, talking about pickles while Dmitri and Anya remained hidden 2 meters away. When they left, I waited half an hour before calling the others. That night, we all slept in the basement, not for fear of bombs but of people. The following weeks were constant hide and seek. Signal systems, rehearsed stories, casual conversations in Russian. Dmitri taught me to observe, identify soldiers, vehicles, read body language. But living in constant alert drained us. Anya stopped drawing. Babusia Elena developed nervous cough. Dmitri slept less and less. And I stopped dreaming about the future. In May, our food ran out. 3 days of bombing trapped us in the basement for 72 hours. When we came out, only preserves and wilted potatoes remained. "I'll go out to get supplies," said Dmitri. "Too risky." "I'll go," I said. Teenagers go unnoticed. I left at 5 in the morning, with a small backpack and rehearsed story about looking for family. The landscape had changed, houses with holes, destroyed gardens, craters in the streets. But the worst was the dead silence. I found a market operating 3 kilometers away. Absurd prices, but there was food. The owner asked too many questions: where I lived, if I was alone. Something made me uncomfortable. The way back was terrible. At every corner, I expected soldiers. The backpack felt like 50 kilos, my heart raced at every noise. But I made it. Babusia Elena hugged me as if I had returned from war. That night, we ate a complete meal for the first time in a week. June brought changes. More sporadic but targeted bombings. Electricity only a few hours a day.
Intermittent water.
The remaining people became more suspicious. Then they returned to our house. 5 soldiers, led by a young officer with a scar on his chin. They didn't ask permission, they pushed the door. "We received information that you're hiding insurgents." This time the search was different. They knocked down furniture, empty drawers. They found Dmitri's radio. "What is this for?" "Listening to news." He tuned to military frequency. Ukrainian voices filled the room. Then they shouted from upstairs, "I found something." In Anya's teddy bear, Dmitri had hidden a pistol. "Whose weapon is this?" "I don't know," said Anya. He slapped her. The sound echoed like a gunshot. "It's mine," I intervened. "I found it in an abandoned house." "Prove it." He threw the pistol on the floor. I executed the movements Dmitri had taught me, trembling slightly. "Where did you learn this?" "My grandfather taught me." He began to interrogate me. When grandfather died, of what he smoked. He was testing my story. Without warning, he hit me in the stomach. I fell, struggling to breathe. The pain radiated, But worse was the humiliation. If there's a weapon, there must be ammunition.
Where is it?
A soldier headed to the basement. My world collapsed.
No. There's nothing there. Det is when you're the footstep upstairs. Deliberate, making noise.
Dmitri appeared at the top of the stairs. Not the wounded refugee, the soldier. Uniformed, armed, erect posture. I am Lieutenant Dmitri Kovalenko, 95th Air Assault Brigade. Reconnaissance mission. He showed authentic documents. This young man has been useful providing information about Russian movements. It was brilliant and terrifying. Dmitri offered an explanation for our coexistence, me as a Ukrainian informant. Prove it. What information do you have? I panicked, but remembered the lessons about observation. You change patrol on Pushkin Street every 3 days. Always at 2 p.m. and 10 p.m. I continued with details about checkpoints, schedules, generator problem at the barracks. Basic observations presented as military intelligence. The officer weighed the options and nodded. They took some supplies but left us with instructions for weekly reports. That's how I became a double agent at 16 years old. Every Tuesday, I passed carefully crafted disinformation. Dmitri helped me. We mixed facts with fiction, confusing Russian operations.
Non-existent depots, imaginary movements.
The scary thing was how good I became at it. Lying became natural. Each meeting was psychological Russian roulette. Anya began having nightmares. Babushka Elena developed ulcers. Dmitri slept armed. And I stopped recognizing myself in the mirror. In August, we learned of Ukrainian counteroffensive in the region. We have to leave, said Dmitri. Now. Where to? West. To the border. I can't, said Babushka Elena. This is my home. There won't be a home if we stay. It was the first time I saw her truly cry. 74 years and I've never left this city. If you don't leave, you'll die here, I replied with harshness that surprised me. And if you die, Anya becomes an orphan again. When did you become so adult? When you needed me to be. We left before dawn. Small backpacks with essentials. Babushka Elena took grandfather's photo and mother's doll. The last look at the house was devastating. Not because it was destroyed, but because it would never be a home again. The journey took 5 days. We walked at night, hiding during the day. We passed through a completely evacuated ghost town. We met other refugees, families, elderly, all with the same look of those who lost everything. On the 4th day, we heard gunshots. We spent 12 hours in an abandoned church, Dmitri standing guard while we prayed for war not to come our way. On the 5th day, we reached the border. Less dramatic than expected, just a road with barrier and different soldiers. On the other side, buses waiting, volunteers with water, signs saying welcome to safety. Babushka Elena cried when stepping on foreign soil. I'll never see my house again. Even if the house is there when everything ends, I said, the place where it stood died today. In the last 2 years, we've built a new life. Dmitri works in a factory, saving to bring his fiancée. Anya returned to school, learning Portuguese. Babushka Elena tends a garden and cooks for Brazilian neighbors. I'm finishing high school, planning to study programming and international relations. I want to understand how wars start, how to prevent them. People ask me about the war with morbid curiosity, wanting to hear about explosions and heroism. They don't understand that war isn't made of dramatic moments, it's hundreds of small daily losses. Loss of innocence when you learn to lie to soldiers. Loss of security when you never completely relax again. Loss of childhood, taking on responsibilities that shouldn't be yours. Defending my house didn't mean taking up arms or fighting battles. It meant deciding, every day for 6 months, to continue being human when the world became inhuman. Protecting not just lives, but the possibility of still being a family. Dmitri still laughs at my jokes. Babushka Elena makes bread every morning.
On your colorful Brazilian landscapes.
I dream of the future, even with memories I'd prefer to forget.
But on night, when year plan, I'm still 16 years old, hidden in the basement.
Some types of war never end, they learn to live inside you. The difference is that we survived. Even losing our house, we saved our family. Maybe that's what defending something you love means. Not preventing it from being attacked, but ensuring that, after the attack, something worth protecting still remains.